Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Tony Zampiello from the main San Gabriel Basin Watermaster. Wanted to thank all of you for taking your time out from your busy day to be a part of what we're doing here. This is a series that we started some time ago to kind of talk about folks and talk to folks about what's going on in the basin. We have two great guests today. Want to encourage you to tell us where you're from as you log in. As people are joining, we're still going ahead here and moving forward. But one of the things that we're going to cover today is, we've been talking about how things work in the basin, how we try and supply all of you with water. And even though Watermaster is part of just the groundwater basin, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the partners we have. Hi, Kathy, Rob. Anna Valdez Mata joined. Gee, I wonder who that is. Here's Tom Love. Let me see if I can bring, we need some invites from our guests. They're still coming. So what we're going to talk about today is, rather than going into recapping a lot of what we've talked about, I'm going to give you an update on the storm that we just had and what that might look like from our standpoint as far as the local basin. And then we're going to put our guests on the spot and ask them some questions. As most of you know, or maybe you don't know because you don't get the script, I hardly ever follow the script, don't like working from a script. So I just didn't want to tell our guests that before we get on the call because they wouldn't come on. But first I'd like to introduce our guests. And the first one I'll bring on is Mr. Tom Love. He's the general manager for the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. Tom, why don't you tell us a little bit about your district, what your area is, and what you all do. And then we'll get into the details of the other questions about the drought after we introduce Matt.
All right, thanks, Tony. So I'm Tom Love, General Manager with the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. We were formed a little over 60 years ago with the primary purpose to be a mechanism to bring in imported water to supplement our water supply needs in the San Gabriel Valley. And our source of that imported water is the Metropolitan Water District. Initially, it was Colorado River water through the Colorado River Aqueduct. And then once the state water project was constructed, it's pretty much been exclusively state water project that we deliver to the basin to supplement the pumping and the water demands in the region. Our service area encompasses about 19 cities. We have several water retailers within that area as well.
Thanks, Tom. Our other guest that we have today is, now both these districts serve our area, but they serve different areas within the basin. And our other guest is Matt Litchfield. He's the general manager for Three Valleys Municipal Water District. Three Valleys serves a good part of the eastern portion of the basin. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Sure. Three Valleys is a wholesale water agency, a member agency of the Metropolitan Water District. We were formed in 1950, a long time ago, just a fledgling little agency. And we were originally known as the Pomona Valley Municipal Water District. Later, a couple decades later, it was changed to Three Valleys to kind of reflect the areas that we actually serve. Over time, we did generate and construct our own infrastructure. We have our own 25 MGD surface water treatment plant. We also have 3 wells in production to produce local water supplies, in addition to the water that we import, with a 4th one under construction. But as of right now, a majority of our supplies is imported water, and we can take either state water project water, or we can deliver Colorado River water to the Metropolitan's Weymouth treatment plant. So we have 13 member agencies and retail agencies within our service area, and this population that we serve is just over 500,000 people in our service area. So that's it. That's us in a nutshell.
Thanks, Matt. As we keep going here, I want to encourage everybody to think of some questions. There's going to be a period where we're going to be asking direct questions of both of our guests, but also tell us a little bit about where you're from, the community that you're in, concerned with, working in, living in. But the theme for today is going to be what we're doing about the drought. Now, this is kind of an underlying theme that we've had for the last few months, but you know, you almost anything in life, you can't do it without partners. And certainly these two gentlemen and their agencies and their boards that are elected to govern them are our partners. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the things that have happened recently with the governor and some of his declarations, the statewide drought, and also I think I'd like to get both as the guest views on long-term fixes and what we're trying to do. So I'm going to start out a little bit with, I'm going to give a little bit of an update because we've been inundated with some calls, and I did a little research this morning. Tom and I had another meeting, and in between meetings, I took a look and tried to dig into what this last storm meant for us. Now, I've told most of you over the course of this campaign and these meetings that I really like to look at the rain that's happening in the San Gabriel Canyon up Highway 39 where Morris, San Gabriel, and Cogswell Dam are. And so the storm that we just had gave us about 4.5 inches of rain at San Gabriel Dam. And that's one of our main collection points for runoff. So that's really good. The season that the county measures from is September, the last day in September through to the first. So it starts the first day in October and ends the last day in September. So for the season so far, since October 1st, we've gotten about 7.01 inches of rain. Now the season average is 28.14 at this, and this is all for this location. Now, the thing that you have to remember is even though that's about 25% of the season average, the season isn't 12 months typically. You all know that it doesn't rain over 12 months. We're not in Seattle. So we really look at really like November to March into April as our season to really see that rain. And so it's encouraging, but the human mind works in very odd ways where people will see a little bit of rain and think that we're out of the woods, and we certainly aren't. And so what I want to talk to, and I'm going to throw it to Tom first, and then Matt, please fill in anywhere you can or anything you think we miss. Tom, what's been happening with the governor? There's this 15%, well, not the governor in general, just with regards to water. There's the 15% reduction that has been asked for. Is the state in a drought still, even with these atmospheric rivers? And how are we going to work? What does this 15% reduction mean?
So, yeah, the governor actually in the summertime, recognizing the state had entered into in some cases, extreme drought in some areas of the state, did issue a emergency drought declaration for initially it was a few counties, and then he quickly expanded that to about 50 counties in California, and at the time did not include Southern California. One of the reasons Southern California was not included is that the Metropolitan Water District started 2021 with a record amount of water in storage. But as the summer went on and the runoff from the state water project came in much less than predicted, the supplies on the state water project became a concern. And so back in, I believe it was September, the governor updated that drought declaration and included all of California, every county in California, including Southern California, in a drought emergency, and statewide has called for a 15% voluntary water use reduction. That is their basis of that is go back to what was used in 2020, and in 2021 they want to see 15% reduced. We've had a hard time doing that when we have hot, dry months. People do want to water their lawns and keep their yards looking nice. So outdoor watering takes up a big chunk of that water. But as we enter the summer months, the winter months, cooler weather, and hopefully we'll continue to get more rainfall, that water demand hopefully will decline. We'll be able to achieve that the governor's request for 15% conservation. But in terms of these storms, yeah, they've been a great help to the state. However, the state remains in extreme or exceptional drought. It's a long season for our winter rainy season, and we've had a couple of great starts. The storm that came across Northern California in October during the World Series, it was like a grand slam in the first inning, but we got a lot of innings to play and a lot of game to play throughout this winter with the rainy season. So we are still in a drought. The state water projects supplies are still a strong concern across all of Southern California.
Thanks, Tom. So Matt, your agency set up a little different, same type of agency, but how you get the water to your customers is a little different. There are two situations. There's the state water project, of which Upper District is relies heavily on because they deliver mainly untreated water. But
Correct.
You guys you can deliver a combination. So how does it look for you? You still, even though you have a little better access to the Colorado, are you guys you're still under the same gun that the rest of us are? Is that not right?
Oh, absolutely. We are kind of fortunate, like you said, we can treat and deliver a combination of either Northern California water, state water project system, or through the Colorado River, where a majority of Metropolitan's water is currently stored. That we can do, and we're fortunate to do that with the infrastructure that we have. However, as a lot of people do or don't know, part of our service area within Three Valleys is 100% dependent on the Northern California State Water Project source of supply. So that being said, we've been meeting with Metropolitan as well as Tom on the State Water Project exclusive areas to how are we going to combat or deal with the fact that the supplies are extremely limited. In fact, so limited, that on December 1st of this year, the State Department of Water Resources issued the first time ever a 0% allocation on the State Water Project. Now, does that mean, are we going to run out of water? Are the pipes going to run dry? No, that doesn't mean the pipes are going to run dry. So that is somewhat comforting, but as Tom alluded to, we are dependent, the hydrology in the state of California. But with the fact that we can deliver both sources of supply puts us in a definite position. The treatment plant that I mentioned, our 25 MGD surface water treatment plant, is dependent on the state water project. There's only one source that can be treated through here. So that's a concern for us. And to combat, one of the drought actions that we have been taking as part of a member agency of Metropolitan is to try to find any way that we can shift water off of the state water project system and over to the Colorado River system. So we've executed what we call an operational shift cost offset program. And we like acronyms, so we call it the OSCOP. And what we're doing is we're shifting water away from the state water project demand off of the state and onto the Colorado River. And as a result of that, we've been able to save about roughly 4,000 acre feet of state water project this year as just a result of those actions in the past 3 to 4 months. So it's been a success. And what that does is it preserves that water up north in case this coming winter continues to be dry. But as you know, we've been getting a lot of storms lately, as Tom alluded to. In fact, when you look at the precipitation up in the Northern Sierra, it's tracking to be one of the top 3 rainy seasons so far. But like you said, we're way early in the season. It could dry up tomorrow and not rain anymore. So that is just a fact.
So that leads to one of the questions we got online. We've got one of the people that's followed us from the beginning, Erica J, is asking, if we get enough rain and snow, will the drought be declared over? Now, first off, to set you guys up, that's a two-part question, right? Because we've got our local water here and statewide. But in the meetings that you have down at Metropolitan as the group of managers for the agencies, is there a bar that they've set to say, this will get us out of this is all we need to get us through to this kind of allocation or to get us through the drought? Let's start with Tom, and then Matt, you can fill in a little bit.
Yeah. So if you look at the northern Sierras, where to feed the Feather River and American River, that's the primary watershed that provides our supply to the water project. It is tracking right now pretty well above average. As Matt mentioned, one of the 2 or 3 wettest years so far. But from our conversations with Matt and what they're telling us from the California Department of Water Resources, even if they get an average year in Northern California, the state water project allocation will likely still not be more than 20%, because there's such a deficit in their reservoirs and throughout the system. They've really used a lot of their emergency supplies to get us through this last year, which was only a 5% allocation. But I will tell you, just from our perspective here, is if we're able to get a 20% allocation, if that's all we get on the state water project, it'll be a big sigh of relief. But there hasn't been a bar set in terms of when will the drought be declared over. That we just have to kind of see how the season evolves and the conditions evolve over the next several months.
Okay, so Matt, I'm going to hold you off for a minute because I'm going to assign each of you a category here now. And that was a great answer, Tom, by the way. But here we've got now short-term way of trying to get through things and a long-term, because we're all going to be here, hopefully for a while. Certainly Watermaster will be here, and Upper District and all of you guys will be here long before the rest of us are still around. But Tom, we had a meeting this morning talking about some short-term options. I'm going to ask you, what do you think the short-term options are? And then I'm going to ask Matt to talk a little bit about some of the long-term things we've been talking in the larger group with Met and their large projects on how we might be able to solve long-term. So Tom, you want to talk a little bit about short-term?
Yeah. And Tony, I think when you're talking about short-term, you're talking about things we can do within a matter of months, and long-term is things that may take a year or even longer to get into place. And so short-term, and tying on to what Matt said earlier, is what we've also done, and working with you, Tony, at Watermaster, is we've agreed to defer about 40 to 50,000 acre feet of imported water, state water project, on the promise from Metropolitan. They will make that delivery hopefully in the near term, within the next several months. But one of the things we're working on is to get some mechanisms to bring in Colorado River supplies for groundwater replenishment. So currently we can only use state water project water for replenishment. And the main reason we can't use Colorado River is it does contain a Quagga mussel. It's a shellfish that has invaded the Colorado River system. And since we use the county's facilities, the San Gabriel River, Santa Fe spreading grounds, to put that water in the ground, the county is concerned they don't want to create an infestation of an invasive species within their flood control system, and that's perfectly understandable. So we are working with Metropolitan Water District on a Quagga mussel mitigation plan, where we can demonstrate to the county that if we do bring that water in and there are mussels, we can dry out the areas of the river. We can manage that if that infestation were to occur, to the point where it will not impact the rest of their system. So we're working on that. We'll hopefully get that to a conclusion in a couple of months. The other is some smaller scale ways we could bring treated water into the basin through replenishment. Be treated Metropolitan water coming in, and after it's treated, there are no Quagga mussels in the water. So that's at such a small scale, we're not sure it's really worth the effort at this point in time.
Great, thanks, Tom. So Matt, even though if we get some of these bigger projects online, your district isn't solely lying on the groundwater basin. It certainly helps with supply and it gives you flexibility. But what about this long term? Why don't you talk a little bit about the big project that all of us are trying to work with Med and LA County and the sanitation districts on?
Yeah, and before I just wanted, one of we as an agency, our long-term strategic goal, 10%, have 10% of our demand be produced locally, and that's achievable, but it takes a long time to get there. But one of the longer-term projects that we're looking at least in region, is a project called the Carson Project. It would be one of the largest recycled water projects in the United States when it is built. It's a collaboration of multiple agencies, including LA County San, Metropolitan, Upper District, ourselves, even agencies out in the Orange County area. This project would take wastewater that is typically treated in the Carson area and treated and discharged to the ocean, but actually pump back uphill to help replenish the groundwater aquifers, such as the main San Gabriel Basin. The project itself will be able to treat an ultimate build out about 165 million gallons a day, which is an extreme amount of water. And so with that project, that would help not necessarily drought proof the area, but it adds another piece of the resource pie. If you look at a pie chart and where we get all our supply, it would help offset the demand for imported water by a significant amount. That is one large project that we're all working together on. And we have an option in that project as well as Upper District.
And that's so that we're talking like 10 years out
That's a very long term. There is something else that, Metropolitan has actually just taken action on this week. It's still long term, but it's a few years out. And that is to be able to move water from Diamond Valley Lake out in the Hemet area. If anybody's ever been there, that would allow water that is stored in Diamond Valley Lake to be actually moved backwards in a very large diameter pipe to Devil Canyon and then back right toward us. That right now is not possible. But these three projects that Metropolitan approved just yesterday will certainly help that.
So I'm going to clarify one thing, and then we're going to go on to close out with you two telling us what the people on the call can do individually, collectively, however best they can help. But I apologize if I've not broken it up correctly, but C. Sussel from San Diego is saying they didn't know about the fish, and I think they're talking about the mussel. And so this Quagga mussel is what they call an invasive species that entered the metropolitan system probably through somebody's bilge water in their boat. It's much more prolific in the the Colorado River system because it has a higher calcium. It helps them build their little shells. And the toughest part about these little mussels, if you look at, they look like little teeny snails, but they don't have a head like a snail, is that they love to grow on top of each other and clog up pipes and wreak all kinds of havoc with infrastructure. And so, interestingly enough, because we do need to move on, but Meta's tried all kinds of uses for these mussels, including cooking them and seeing they're worth eating, and apparently they taste terribly. So they've changed their disinfection regime on the aqueduct, and they do other mitigation to get rid of them, but they are very prolific little things that can cause a bunch of havoc. So with that now, so we know the governor wants us to have that target of the 15%. We know that everybody here, if you're interested enough to be on this Instagram Live, you're probably doing all the things that you can think of to reach that. But these districts are set up so that they can help you. They don't necessarily deliver the water directly to your tap, but they're a huge source of help as far as tips. But not only that, they have certain programs. So one of the questions Tom and Matt we had is, you know, there's always discussion of rebates for water efficient appliances and things like that. Maybe I'm going to ask, we're going to change up the order a little bit. We'll let Matt go first. Throw out a couple of tips that you think people can do individually to help. And then if you have any resources that your district or metropolitan can provide, please share those with us.
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to saving water is outdoor irrigation. That outdoor irrigation, 60 to 70% of demands in the Southern California area, especially in the warmer climates out here, are outdoor irrigation. So if you can limit your watering turf, either by limiting the water or actually removing turf, that would go a very long way. Indoor water usage over the years, quite frankly, has become a lot more efficient than it was 20, 30 years ago. But there are still ways that you can, you know, get 15% reduction in-house. You can take shorter showers. You can purchase rain barrels. I mean, there's lots of things that you could do to help achieve that 15%. And as far as incentives go, there is a regional program called the SoCalWatersmart.com program, whereby Metropolitan provides funding for various turf removal, appliance replacement programs along those lines. And every 2 years, Metropolitan gives each member agency a block of money to use for conservation programs, which we help offset our retail agencies. So the best source to go and try to tap those funds is whoever your retail agency is. Go to their website and they will all have some sort of water conservation tips as well as rebate programs.
And just before Tom adds what his thoughts are, you can contact any one of the 3 agencies of ours. If we know your area, your address, we can point you in the right direction, or simply just, you know, look at your water bill, and there probably is some customer service contact on that as well. So Tom, Upper District, I know, has money that they set aside each year for programs. You want to talk a little bit about that and maybe who your customers could contact?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we have several programs in our service area, but I did want to mention one thing about outdoor water use. I want everyone on this call to, first chance you get, I want you to turn off your automatic irrigation controller. We just got a ton of rain. You don't need to water your lawn or your yard, and we got rain coming in next week. So just turn it off, and then, you know, if we get rid of the painfully dry, maybe consider turning it back on. That's the easiest way to really quickly save a lot of water. You see it all the time. You drive through neighborhoods and it's raining cats and dogs, and somebody has their sprinklers on. So that's what the one thing we can do. So Upper District has a number of programs, both educational and incentive programs. Initiative we started this year is our Water Smart Home program. It's really to target some of our disadvantaged communities who may have not been able to take advantage of some of the water saving or device. And we will go out to those homes that qualify, have a contractor install low flow toilets, low flow shower aerators, and so forth. The other materials are on the Upper District website, usgvmwd.org. And I noticed Erica also threw up the Be Water Wise website on Metropolitan. There's a lot of information on incentives for conservation devices there. One of the things Metropolitan has kicked off this year is a new direct install program with the Southern California Gas Company for the water efficient and natural gas efficient horizontal washing machines. And you'll find information on the bewaterwise.com website.
So just so you know, Tom, Juan Gallardo 99 said he already did. So I told you we had a lot of smart listeners here. And these are just kind of little common sense things that if we all do them collectively, we can get through this. And that kind of is what our point was today. We are working together as agencies to ensure your supply, make sure that all aspects are covered as best as we possibly can. I'm going to wrap up the Instagram live today. It looked like, Tom, did you want to add something? You looked like you were going to.
No,
I decided to add something. So.
No, I just was pushing the button on my phone to see what it did. And it did nothing.
Still there. Want to thank you, Tom. Thank you, Matt. you know, I really appreciate the teamwork that that you guys give us and help us through this stuff. I want to wish everybody on the Instagram Live today a healthy and happy holiday. We're going to continue next month talking about these subjects with guests, and we just want you to know that we do have your bases covered, but it's going to take all of us to get through this drought. We're in new ground, we're breaking new ground, and together I think we can all make it work. So again, everybody have a wonderful day. I really appreciate when you take out your time out for this, and I know these two guys are very busy, so I want to thank them again for doing that. And we will talk to all of you soon. Thanks.